right, modern language students. Today we're going to be learning about language relations and borrowed words. So language relations talks about, or deals with, how languages are related to one another. And you'll see on your screen that I have a family tree. Now you might be familiar with a family tree. Normally, a family tree shows how people are related to one another. This family tree is a little bit different. Instead of people, this family tree shows how languages are related to one another. Now, this family tree does not have every single language in the world listed on it. You won't see your Asian languages. Those in particular are not included on this tree, but there's a good amount of languages that are included here. The first thing I want you to find is the English language. So if you can find the cluster of trees with English, it is right over here. I want you to notice that English, if we travel back down this branch, right here you see the word Germanic. English is a Germanic language. And that's actually a test question. You will see again, English is a Germanic language. English is most closely related to German. So I don't know about you guys, but when I first found that out, I was a little kind of surprised. I didn't think of English that way, as being most similar to German. I don't know what I thought of it as, but I just didn't think of it as being closely related to German. So English and German are most closely related. English is a Germanic language. Now, take a second and find Spanish on the tree. Kind of see it right up here with these three birds. So Spanish right here, if we travel back down the branch, is a Romance language. Now you might think that's kind of strange. Sounds really weird that Spanish is a Romance language. But let me tell you what the word romance means. Doesn't mean romance like you're thinking. Romance means that Spanish and the other Romance languages come from the language of the ancient Romans. Okay? And the ancient Romans all spoke Latin. So these languages, these Romance languages, have their roots in Latin. So you see Spanish right here. Spanish is closely related to Portuguese. Another bigger one, Italian and French. Okay, so I want you to know those four are closely related. So we have Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and French. Those are all Romance languages. They come from the language of the ancient Romans, which is Latin. These four languages have their roots in Latin. And it's important that you know this because as we study languages this quarter, you're going to be able to pick up on how they're related. I want you to pay attention to that. If you can keep that in the back of your mind, that makes language study much easier. If you can pick up on those similarities, if you can see how words might sound the same or be spelled kind of similarly. All right, now that you have a little bit of background with language relations, let's talk about borrowed words. As we go through the borrowed words slide, I want you guys to kind of make note of a few things here. You are going to see some answers that goes with the accompanying worksheet that I've posted in Canvas. It's also titled Language Relations and Borrowed Words. The second page of that assignment is titled Borrowed Words, and you're going to need to fill in that definition right here. So a borrowed word is a word taken from another language. So please fill that answer in on your sheet. A borrowed word is a word taken from another language. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We just took that word directly and we reused it in English. So some examples of borrowed words are the word salsa. You guys you're familiar with chips and salsa. So salsa is a word that comes from Spanish. We did not create a new word for salsa. That's just what we use. Oh, hold on just a second. Let's try this again. So again, salsa is a word that we took from Spanish that we use for the word for salsa. Salsa literally means sauce. Means sauce in Spanish. We just took that word and reused it. We didn't give it a new name. Another example is the word bouquet. If you guys are familiar with the word bouquet, a bouquet is a group of flowers. For example, a bride would carry a bouquet down the aisle. So bouquet is a French word. Another French word that we use in English is the word brunette. If you guys know that brunette refers to someone who has brown hair. It's a French word. A German word that we use in English would be the word Brat, which is short for bratwurst. So bratwurst is a German word. So again, a borrowed word is a word taken from another language. And please make sure you typed that answer on your assignment sheet that goes along with this activity. It's on the second page, and at the top it says a borrowed word. And the definition is a word taken from another language. All right, so let's talk about some clues. And again, you're going to add these clues onto that sheet also. So some clues to identify French borrowed words. So these words, they can have silent letters, such as G's or T's. So there's some extra words, oftentimes in French words, some extra letters that are not always pronounced. They're not always said, they're just silent. French is also nasal. So you might think that sounds weird. What does nasal mean? If you think nasal, nose. So you use your nose to pronounce words in French. And I know that might sound crazy, but you do use your nose when you speak French. So I'm going to try my best to say this because I'm a little congested, but my example for you is the word bonjour. So bonjour means good day in French. So when you say bonjour, if you say it correctly and you take your hand and kind of put it across the top of your nose, bonjour, bonjour. You can kind of feel it up there in your nose a little bit. And I know that sounds crazy, but you do use your nose to speak French. So bonjour is our example with French. Again, please make sure you typed these notes down, that they're silent letters, it's nasal, on that assignment sheet. All right, so some clues to identify German borrowed words. German words are harsh. They're not very pretty words. They're much more harsh. Just about everything is pronounced in German. And German is guttural. You might think, what does guttural mean? So guttural means that it is in the back of your throat. It's in the back of your mouth when you speak German. So to say good morning in German is Guten Tag. Guten Tag. Now, if you were to take your hand and kind of put it around the back of your, up around your throat, and kind of have your fingers on one side going from one ear and your thumb across to your other ear, and kind of had your hand there. And if you were to say the word Guten Tag, you can say that phrase with me, Guten Tag. You can really kind of feel it back there in the back of your mouth and the back of your throat. So that's kind of a clue as to where German is spoken. So Guten Tag, it's guttural, it's in the back of your throat. Our last one to talk about is Spanish. So some clues to identify Spanish borrowed words. So oftentimes Spanish words end in an O or an A, but not always. That is not a for sure thing. There are many words in Spanish that do not end in an O or an A, but that's just kind of a general overall rule that can help you, but it is not a concrete set in stone rule. Now, with Spanish, every letter is pronounced. You say every single one except for one, and that's the letter H. The letter H is silent. Hopefully, you've never heard anyone walking around saying hola. You know that hola is incorrect. The letter H is silent. It's pronounced hola. You pretend like it's not even there. Spanish is also spoken on the tip of your tongue. It's right in the front of your mouth. For example, if I were to say, Hola, me llamo Señora Panzo, soy de Saint Joseph, tengo 3 hijos. It's right in the front of my mouth. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not in the back of my mouth like German. It's not up in my nose like French. It's right in the front on the very tip of your tongue. Spanish is kind of a melodic language. If you hear someone who speaks Spanish as their first language, it sounds kind of like melody, like a song, depending on how they may speak. So our example for Spanish, the phrase for good morning is buenos dias. Buenos dias. If you were to try saying buenos dias, hopefully you can feel it right there in the front of your mouth. It's on the tip of your tongue. All right? Now, I hope you added all of these notes onto that borrowed words assignment. And this is the assignment sheet that I'm referring to. So right here, you should have typed the definition of a borrowed word. Here, you should have listed your clues. So your French word clue, remember that it has silent letters, it's nasal. German, that it is harsh, guttural. Spanish, a lot of words in an O and A, but not always. It's on the tip of your tongue. You now are going to read through these words. And what I want you to do is I want you to read through these words and try to figure out if these words are Spanish, French, or German. If you think it's a Spanish word, put an S on the line. If you think it's German, you'll write a G. And for French, you'll write an F. So I would like to give you a second to go through and to attempt to do this on your own. If I were you, I would pause the video right now, take a second, try to answer these, and then I'm going to go ahead and read through these. After you've attempted this on your own, I'm going to read through these so that you can hear these words being pronounced. Maybe it might be a little bit easier to identify these. All right, so your first word is gourmet, gourmet. Patio, patio. Halt, halt. And feel free to pause this video at any time. This one we're going to skip because I don't like this answer and I don't believe it is included on the copy I've uploaded for you to do. So please ignore this one. Kindergarten, kindergarten. Florida, Florida. Sabotage, sabotage. Rodeo, rodeo. Volkswagen. Chase, chase. Hacienda, camouflage. Frankfurter, dachshund. Fiesta, quesadilla. RSVP. RSVP is short for a phrase, and that phrase is Répondez s'il vous plaît. Répondez s'il vous plaît. Gesundheit, Gesundheit. Kaputt, and omelet. After you've answered these, I'd like for you to try to think and see if you can come up with 5 borrowed words, if you can think of words that you think might be borrowed words. And then I would also like you to go back to this page here, the language relations page. On this page, here's a list of German words. You are going to take the German word on the left and draw a line across to the English word on the right. So you're going to, for example, take the word Engel, and you're going to draw a line to either doctor, forest, blouse, berry, hundred, brother, angel, or work. So you're going to take the German word on the left and try to match it up with its English translation on the right. This text up here, you don't necessarily need to read. We've already talked about this. This is a really simple family tree. Here you have a list of Romance words from Romance languages, French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. So these words all the way across the top here, nuit, noche, note, noite, they all mean the same thing. But your job is to figure out what word they mean from this list over here in English. And you can draw a line to the English translation. So what do you think nuit, noche, note, and noite mean? Draw a line. You're going to choose from one of these words over here listed in English. When you are finished with this activity, please upload it to Canvas. And tomorrow, I am going to post a video with the correct answers, just so you can kind of see how you did. All right, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and please feel free to send me messages if you have any questions at all.